Hey Miraculous fans, Crystal here. And if Adrien is a Sentimonster, why doesn't he go crazy when he gets cataclysmed? And that is the question that I aim to answer today. But just to explain the question. So, number one, Adrien is a Sentimonster. Sorry, I should have said spoiler warning. If you're not all caught up, yes, he is. And if you have seen all the episodes and you still think he isn't, you're just wrong. It was confirmed late season 5. It was confirmed he is a Sentimonster, or I guess Senti-being, because some people don't like the term Sentimonster because it implies they're like a mindless monster thing. But either way, I'll use either word, but I'm not calling him a monster per se. But yes, Adrien is a Sentimonster. So is Felix, and I believe Kagami too. Adrien and Felix definitely. Because both of their mothers, Emily and Amelie, they both had the same fertility issue, probably something genetic considering they're twins, and it's something that they both had. And they both used the peacock miraculous to make a son. Anyway, Adrien's a Sentimonster. However, the show has established that if you cataclysm a Sentimonster, it kind of goes crazy. I believe this was confirmed in the episode Reflectol. And if that's not the first time they established that, then it at least gets re-established. Because I remember they do try to cataclysm Reflectol, and it goes crazy. There might be other episodes where they mention it and remind themselves, we don't want to use cataclysm, because I think that's a Sentimonster, and we know they just go crazy when you cataclysm them. So why is it that in the rare times we've seen, I said times, it might just be the one time, unless I'm forgetting other times, but why is it in the rare times that Adrien gets touched by a cataclysm that he does not go crazy or malfunction in any way? And that's what I'm going to explain. Now, the reason I believe that Sentimonsters go crazy like that is because they don't know how else to respond. Most Sentimonsters, they're not fully fleshed out beings. They're just designed for like a purpose. For instance, Reflectol, it was just made to be like a robot doll kind of thing that was shooting lasers, and Jolica was able to control it from the inside. But it's not fully fleshed out where it didn't really have a response to default to when it got cataclysmed. But anyway, the canon answer, because I believe what I'm about to say was stated somewhere official, and I don't remember where, so I'm sorry if I can't put a source to this. I think Thomas Ostruck said this. I saw this somewhere official where someone said, if a Sentimonster, Senti-being, whichever, is made to be human, intended to be human, then it, or rather he in this case, will react to things like cataclysm the way a human would. So Adrien, if hit by cataclysm, would be affected the same way any other human would, and not the crazy way other Sentimonsters do. As I said, the other Sentimonsters, they're not fully fleshed out beings like these Sentimonsters that are made to be human. So they just go to that default response of going crazy. Whereas because Adrien, and also probably Felix, were created with that level of depth that they are indistinguishable from humans, if they get hit by cataclysm, it would affect them the way a biological human would be. But what is that way that a biological human would be affected? Well, I can explain that too. So I don't think we've seen it before, but I believe a regular human without a miraculous is probably just instantly destroyed or killed, I guess, by a cataclysm. We haven't seen that happen in the show. What we have seen is a human with an active miraculous, which does offer some sort of magical protection, which we saw with what happened to Monarch. He was protected by the transformation to a degree, which basically meant the effect was very, very delayed. It starts with a black mark on the spot that he was touched. For Gabriel, it was his arm, and spreads until the person presumably dies when it covers their whole body. We never saw this process finish, because although Gabriel's black mark did spread quite far, it did not finish and kill him because he was getting close to it, but it did not kill him before he made the wish at the end of season 5. And this is what effect would happen unless it's cured by another form of magic, namely the miraculous ladybug cure thing. Because when Monarch was hit, then he used Voyage to get away, and Ladybug basically confirms that this is a possible cure, because she says that he would have been healed if she could have said Miraculous Ladybug, but she couldn't because he took the lucky charm with him, which she needs for that. Remember, they didn't really want to cataclysm him. They wouldn't do that, even to him, a villain. They were bluffing with the threat, but he did it to himself. But anyway, it stands to reason that this is the same thing that would happen to Adrien, and possibly did in the episode Miraculer, which is the example that spurned this discussion. It started when someone posted a clip from the episode Miraculer, where Miraculer, who had taken their powers, used Cataclysm and touched him as Cat Noir. And the post was saying, well, if Adrien's a Sentimonster, why didn't he go crazy? But this is what I believed happened to him. Basically, the same effect as Monarch. In this case, Adrien, Cat Noir, whatever, is reacting the same way that I said a human with an active Miraculous would. Because, even though he's a Sentimonster, as I said, he is affected the same way a biological human would be, because he is intended to be human. And it stands to reason this is the reaction during Miraculer. Now, you could say that this wasn't the writer's intention, because maybe they hadn't yet settled on how Cataclysm works at the time. But what I'm about to say is not contradicted by the episode either, so we can still say it's what was happening at the time. Now, in Miraculer, Adrien, as Cat Noir, so he has that layer of protection from a Miraculous, is hit by Cataclysm. Since he's transformed, I say he should be affected the same way Monarch was. And yes, that could be what was happening. We don't see the black marking. We also don't see the bare skin where the black marking would be, because he got touched on his chest, and obviously he never takes off his shirt, so it's not like we can say, haha, we saw his bare skin and there's no black mark. We can't say that. After she touched him with the cataclysm, he ran off into an alley and de-transformed. He looked hurt, and there very well could have been a black mark on his chest, but we don't see under his shirt. He does look pained, and when he re-transforms, he does finish the fight, but he could be playing through the pain, or the transformation could be lessening the pain a bit. But yeah, the same thing that happened to Monarch could certainly be happening to Adrien in Miraculer. Because then when Ladybug says miraculous ladybug at the end, it would cure him. So any black mark that was there would be healed anyway. So all in all, I think that's why Adrien does not go crazy the way a Sentimonster is supposed to. A Sentimonster is only supposed to do what their creator intends for them. Most Sentimonsters that villains like Myura or Shadow Moth create are used to be like a tool. But Sentimonsters or senti beings like Adrien and Felix, they were created out of love, a mother's love who desperately wanted a child and used it to create life, a life that she intended to be a fully fleshed out human. And with those intentions in mind, Adrien is, by all intents and purposes, a human. Pretty sure Thomas R. Struck, again, I don't have the source at the ready, but I remember seeing a post by Thomas R. Struck or somewhere official where it said, Sentimonsters are indistinguishable from what they're intended to be. A Sentimonster made to be a human is basically a human. Adrien is indistinguishable from any biological human, so despite being a Sentimonster, he would react to things like a Cataclysm or the use of a Miraculous the same way as any other human. We know Sentimonsters are capable of using a Miraculous, because in Optigami, it was a Sentimonster designed to pretend to be Nino, and she gave him the Turtle Miraculous, and he was able to transform just fine and use shelter and everything else, because, he was not really trying to sabotage. The Sentimonster, at least, was not intended to sabotage. He was there so that Optigami could, implant itself in the Turtle Miraculous, so then it would follow her back. But thankfully, she figured out that it wasn't Nino, and then she, got Optigami out of the Turtle Miraculous. But anyway, that is another example of a Sentimonster that's kind of made to be human, although Sentinino would not have been as fleshed out as Adrien and Felix in terms of intentions. Because Gabriel was probably thinking, okay, make a Sentimonster that looks exactly like that kid Nino. It probably wouldn't have been able to live a full, complete life. I don't know. It all depends on his intentions when he made it. But I'm getting off track. So yes, Sentimonsters, just like humans, can use a Miraculous, and if they are intended to be a fully fleshed out human with a life of their own, then they would not default to going crazy like other Sentimonsters have. Those Sentimonsters go crazy when getting cataclysmed because they don't have any other response. But a Sentimonster intended to be human reacts the way a human would. And a human with an active Miraculous, well, as I just explained, has the same effect we saw Monarch have. So there you have it, guys. That is my discussion of why Adrien did not go crazy when he was hit with Cataclysm, particularly in the episode Miraculer. I can't remember if there's any other times he's been touched by Cataclysm. But that's going to be all from me today. So with that being said, I'll see you next time for more Miraculous and other things as well. See you next time, guys.